13% of students entering higher ed in the U.S. have a diagnosed disability. About half of those request an accommodation of some kind while pursuing their degree. The top 4 disabilities in this group include ADD or ADHD, anxiety, depression and PTSD, autism spectrum disorder, and dyslexia. Diagnosis of these disabilities has been rising rapidly in recent years due to greater awareness and earlier testing. Hearing, vision, cognitive, mobility, and dexterity impairments are also not uncommon. Hello, I'm Jeff Witt, and I'm an accessibility specialist with over 3 decades of experience in digital accessibility. In this guide, I'll be walking you through some essential steps and considerations for creating and running an accessible online course. Due to the nature of education, it makes sense that online education might be easier for people with disabilities. A person in a wheelchair has an easier time getting to class when that class is at home. A person with chronic fatigue may be able to handle a heavier course load. A person with vision impairment can access all reading materials, participate in discussions, and more online. How will you know how many of your learners online have disabilities? You won't. The best case scenario is to do a bit of extra testing and preparation in advance, which is very much achievable in most cases, to clear a path for the wide range of learners who have disabilities. Online education offers a big opportunity to empower people with disabilities. Many who might consider in-person higher education impractical might find online learning more attainable. The appeal of online education to a person who has a disability depends on whether they believe they'll be able to get through the material. All potential learners are likely to ask themselves, is it for me? Can I do it? Here are some things you can do to help. Improve representation of people with disabilities by including them in the intro and marketing videos for your course. You can also highlight course success stories with them. Have a custom accessibility tab for every course, which can include Number 1, reinforcement in your welcome message that you expect nearly everyone to find your course to be accessible, especially if they communicate their accessibility needs early. Number 2, instructions for how to request accommodations if they're needed. Number 3, advance notice of any use of timed exams or remote proctoring services. And number 4, links to accessible versions of documents if the originals are not fully accessible. 5, links to annotation documents that may be needed as supporting material for video or audio files. 6, links to specialized documentation on how to use any tools that are needed in your course using screen readers, voice input, keyboard-only input, etc. So an example would be using Visual Studio Code with screen readers in a programming course. And lastly, suggestions for any ways for learners to find a community within the larger cohort, such as posting introductions in discussion forums. Creating accessible courses. Tools used. As we know, computer users with disabilities may use screen readers, magnifiers, voice input, and command and control programs, special fonts, color schemes, alternative text input devices, or mouse alternatives. They may also use browser extensions or other tools that help with reading and remembering content. The intent with this overview is to show how online learning content can be created to ensure that these tools continue to work effectively and smoothly as part of the learning experience. Accessible videos. Ensuring that your course videos are accessible is essential for accommodating learners with various disabilities. An ideal course has materials that include a variety of modalities for easy consumption. This may include videos and text in different languages. Having both videos and synchronized transcripts may help learners who use different languages as well as those who have reading impairments. Here are some key practices to make your videos more inclusive. Include captions, which help deaf learners as well as those with literacy challenges. Offer downloadable transcripts for video and audio files. If you want to excel, include a version of the video with signed interpretation, as sign language may be the native language for many deaf people. For some types of materials, it may be beneficial to include a glossary to support the video so people can learn the new words before they encounter them in the video. Include accessible alternatives for text that is included on the screen. This may be included as an annotation in the transcript or as an audio description alternative audio file or as supplemental material. The important point is that no one should have to guess what is happening on the screen in any course video. Documents and PDFs. At a high level, accessible documents are semantically structured files that include textual equivalents for images and appropriate workarounds for other non-text information. Semantically structured means there are headings that are identified as headings, tables that have headers that are marked as headers, links that make sense when listed out of context, etc. The accessibility requirements for other types of docs are essentially the same, but are applied through somewhat different means. PDFs are originally designed for consistency of print format output, but one can apply accessibility tagging to enable them to be as accessible as a well-designed HTML unit. The same is true for PowerPoint and Word documents. If you have documents that need to be made accessible, you can probably create accessible versions of the same document format, but it may be more expedient to convert those docs into HTML units on OpenEdX. There are a number of companies like Edley that have specialist expertise in this area and can quickly remediate inaccessible documents on a per-page basis. Math content. All math in online education should be in MathML format or in LaTeX, which can be easily converted to MathML. OpenEdX uses MathJax to draw MathML as regular equations on screen and also for conversion between MathML and LaTeX. There are programs available that can convert LaTeX equations in PDF documents to accessible MathML, and there are other programs that can convert written notes to accessible MathML. You can click on this link to learn more. But you should not require learners to own these programs in order to participate in your course. The math in any learning units or documents should be accessible as MathML when the learner comes to them. MathJax can also be used to make chemistry and physics diagrams interactive and accessible. We will cover these implementation details in a future video, so keep an eye on this space. Delivering accessible courses, administration of accessible courses, communication. Early and often, effective communication is key to supporting all learners, especially those with disabilities. Implementing some best practices can help ensure that students stay informed, engaged, and connected throughout the course. Redundant announcements are helpful, particularly regarding assignment expectations and deadlines. Live office hours are helpful to ensure learners stay on track. Live real-time interaction by video or audio conference is very empowering for some, but may be overly stressful for others. Be sure to offer support in forums and email as well. Encourage learners to talk about their experience with course materials in discussion forums and feedback forums. Encourage learners to talk about their experience as learners in forums. They may find others who have similar backgrounds and feel like part of a community. This can be very powerful in increasing course and program completion rates. Use of AI. Of course, the central goal of formal education is to train learners to be knowledgeable and effective thinkers, writers, and content producers. Modern AI tools empower users to produce materials that they might not be able to, or perhaps not just as effectively, as they would without the use of those tools. This presents a number of issues. It's particularly concerning if AI produces answers to questions too effectively, making it harder to discern whether a learner has actually learned anything. So it's tempting to ban the use of AI in education altogether. Here I want to present some additional factors to consider. Tech that makes learning easier also makes it more accessible for some. For instance, automatic summarization with ChatGPT. This can help learners with cognitive difficulties such as ADD, ADHD, who may find it challenging to focus on or comprehend extensive texts. Dictionary or thesaurus browser plugins can help with literacy and with dyslexia. For example, a dyslexic student writing an essay can use the plugin to clarify word meanings and select more appropriate terms in context, improving both comprehension and expression. Support for more advanced speech input and output may be essential for blind or low vision learners, but may also be important for people who have difficulty reading visually. A student can use it to compose their assignments, participate in discussions, and perform research without relying on visual interfaces. Automatic flashcard generation and smart practice drilling can help learners who have memory or attention deficits or executive function deficiency. In some contexts, such as writing code, AI may be super beneficial in increasing productivity. When I myself am writing code, GitHub Copilot suggests effective completions for lines or functions that I'm writing on over and over again. This can significantly increase productivity if used effectively. Another angle on this is that the AI can help a writer or coder get unstuck much more quickly. And consider that getting stuck is extremely common when writing or coding, even for experts. It can keep an easily distracted person on task, in flow state, for longer periods of time. The benefits to people who have ADD or other cognitive impairments are potentially huge. If a learner has difficulty with typing, smart autocompletion can make it possible to finish long assignments in a fraction of the time. In these instances, increases in usability become effectively meaningful increases in accessibility. Coding in particular, a lot of people can get frustrated on the learning path and give up, especially people who have additional challenges in learning and working with tools. But smarter tools greatly reduce those barriers, making the field open to them as equal contributors. Accommodations. Requests for more time on timed exams is the most frequent type of accommodation request. Generally, this should not be difficult to work with. There is no particular amount of time or multiplier, regular time allowed that should be granted. Proctored exams. All of the online proctoring service providers automatically constrain the use of other tools while taking an exam for security reasons, but all of them also allow specific tools to be enabled in the course if administrators allow them. Some learners may require tools for accessibility such as screen readers or magnifiers or voice input, etc. These may be run as separate processes or as browser plugins. Generally, the important thing to remember here is that learners need to communicate with course administrators early in the course process to make clear the tools that they will need, and the course administrators need to make sure that learners are able to use those tools in the proctored exams. A test exam prior to actual proctored exam is therefore essential to ensure success. Ensuring our educational resources are inclusive and accessible is crucial to the success of all learners. By implementing these practices, we can create a supportive learning environment that accommodates everyone's needs. Keep an eye on this space for more resources and videos on this topic, as we will continue to explore and share best practices for making online learning accessible to all.